Hello all and welcome to our Crochet Designs. My name is Mary and in today's tutorial, get excited guys, we are creating the temperature blanket of what? 2022. Now you guys may already know this. My regulars would. If you're joining us new, firstly, welcome. Secondly, the regulars would already know that we did an annual blanket last year. It was called the Swatch Blanket of 2021 and there's the gorgeous picture right there. If you would like to create that, I will leave a link to the playlist in a description box down below and you can create that blanket. However, get ready guys, because we are going to create this one right here, right now. It's a little bit easier than than the swatch blanket, and you guys may already know that as well. All right, so it's a little bit easier. I'll get into everything in a moment, but first just let me tell you that it will consist of a 2-row granny square. All right, so let's just worry about that later. You will need for this tutorial, you know what, let's do the rundown of all the paperwork. Let's move everything else out the way and we'll do a rundown of the paperwork. I think that's a really good idea. All right, so let's move everything quickly and blow this one up there. How's that? Is that nice and close? All right, now as you can see, I've marked it the 10th of December 2021 and I'll show you the calendar in a minute. Why? Okay, the blanket itself will be worked in 26 rows of 14 squares. Now the 14 squares are 14 days. They look like that there. All right, so I'll explain that in a minute. So they will have 14 squares, which will only consist of 364 days. Now Marty, one of our subscribers who joins our lives practically almost always, did mention that it was a 364 day. What will we do about the extra square? And he said, why don't we just add it somewhere if that helps? You don't have to, but he said, why don't you just do that? Well, that'll put our blanket out of whack. So what I decided to do, and just as a last minute thing, we do our 14 days across, we do our 26 rows, and when we do a first border row of the main colour, which I'll explain in a minute, the second row can be the last day, if that is what you want on your blanket, right? And then you go back to the main colour. And again, I'll explain that at the end of our blanket, which will be the 10th of December 2022, or maybe 12, 13. But we'll get to that in a minute, all right? That's just a suggestion at this stage. It may not happen, but that's just a suggestion, all right? But what you will need for your blanket is, okay, you will need your yarn. The yarn I'm using, so I'll just bring that out a little bit, is a Bendigo Woolen Mills yarn. Now, you don't need to use this one. This is just, you know, Bendigo is one of my favourite yarns to use here in Melbourne, Australia. Now, this is an 8-ply, 100% pure wool. You can use any kind of wool you like, whether it's wool, acrylic, cotton, whatever you want. It doesn't have to be wool, okay? And an 8-ply here in Australia is a DK weight or a number 3 overseas, if that helps you in your country, all right? This colour here is called koala, and you know why? It's called koala because it's kind of the colour of our koalas, which is a browny grey. You can actually see that. You can kind of see the tinge of grey if you look carefully with the brown. It's really hard to tell. It comes across as a dark bone, light brown, grey. It really is an unusual colour, but that is the colour of our koalas here in Australia. So there you go. But that's neither here nor there. I just wanted to say that. Now, this is a 400-metre skein yarn. Okay, this is going to be, and I'll show you quickly the picture again. There's your coloured squares, and around your coloured squares is that brown, which is this one here. It's kind of a grey brown, yeah? That's the only colour I had in stock. Sorry, guys. So around that square is your grey brown. That is what this colour is used for. It's going to be used to do the join as you go on your squares. Now I will have two versions of that. I will have a simple version of a join as you go for new crocheters. Let's move all that out of the way. For new crocheters. And I'll have a more difficult version of join as you go as well for those more avid crocheters. But if you are new to crochet and want to try the more difficult version, by all means go ahead and try it. Now, as I mentioned, it is a 400-metre skein, which I'm not sure of the I'll just put the yardage right there. And there you go. And what will happen is we will probably use between 2 and 2.5 of these skeins right here, this one here, okay? Maybe even 3 skeins, because what we're going to do, or skeins, whatever you want to call it, we're going to do the join as you go over and over and over again till we get to the end. Then we're going to do 1 row of this colour, or 2 if you don't want to do that extra day colour, which I'll talk about later. And then we're going to do a row for like a border row, or if we have a lot of yarn left, we will do a couple of rows into the border and make it look a little bit more interesting. There will be 2 border rows, one for the more avid crocheter again, and one if you are joining us new. And that will give you the opportunity, if you find it a little bit too difficult to try the more avid row, border row, then you are welcome to do the easier row. Now that's that. All right, so the yarn will be that one there. For this colour, you will need between 2.5 and 3 skeins. For all the other colours, now that kind of depends on the weather in your country. I wouldn't say we would go more than 100 grams per skein, but you don't know, because again, your country's weather, or your state, even your state's weather, which we were talking about in our live, on Saturday's live, about the different temperatures and different states that we are in, yeah? So, of Australia, that is, not even overseas, yeah? So you're going to have to use your own judgment call. Know your weather, in other words. I know Melbourne's weather is very sporadic, so I will be able to say have 100 grams per skein, and probably even less with some of the really hot days or some of the really cold days, because Melbourne's a kind of an in-betweener kind of temperature, if that makes any sense. But again, you need to know your weather, and I'll explain that a lot throughout this tutorial anyways. But in the meantime, I'm using 13 colours. Now, you don't need to use 13 colours, because we will talk about that again as well. It's called a colour key, and I'll show you that in a moment, all right? The joining colour, as you've seen, is the koala, and I popped there the koala. You will need a calendar, and I have a calendar for 2022, and I'll explain that to you in a minute. Oh, you know what? Let's explain it as we go along, all right? Let's move that. You will need the calendar, because what you're going to do, and I'll flip it here to show you. Let me get it closer. You're going to mark the temperature of each day on your calendar. Now, the reason is, take for argument's sake the Christmas week. Let's try that. The Christmas week. I did not have time to do any of these on that week, and I didn't have any time to do the week after as well. So I would have been missing 2 weeks worth. I'm missing all of it because I haven't done any of it. But if it was for me, I would have missed these 2 weeks of crochet time, because, Christmas, we're busy, we're running around, we're shopping, we're cooking, we're, entertaining family, the rest of it, whatever it is that you are busy at, you work long hours, whatever. So what you do is you pop the temperature of that day in degrees Celsius or Fahrenheit. Now, I've used both degrees and Fahrenheit to help our overseas followers. And you pop them on the day. Then when you've done your key, and I'll explain the key in a minute, say if it was 20 degrees for whatever day that is, 23rd of December. So you go to 20 degrees here and you find baby blue. So you write baby blue on your calendar, all right? Come the day when you want to put all these squares together, you look at your calendar and you say, right, I need baby blue blossom, baby blue leaf, bubblegum leaf. These are the colours I need for these 2 weeks, all right? And that will help you out a little bit. And I'm going to give you a little secret later too about all this as well. But I cut December 2021's calendar off and pasted it on the back of and pasted it on the back of the 2022 calendar, yeah? Started from the 10th of December, and I'll talk about that in a moment. And I worked my temperatures all the way up to the 6th of January, because when I recorded all this, it was the 7th of January. So you're going to find, changing days, but don't stress on that one. But in the meantime, don't worry about that. In the meantime, let's continue, and I'll talk more about that in a moment. All right, so we got to the calendar. So you will definitely need a calendar, and you will need, the next thing you will need is the yarn key, or the temperature key, which is exactly the same thing, which is this right here. Or this one. All right. Now I have 2 color keys and I'll tell you why. Our temperature here and Fahrenheit there is done between 2 or 3 degrees. So I've got 2, 3, 4. Let's bring it closer. Here, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So they're 3 degrees apart, right? Over here, for countries that understand their weather and know that their weather is normal and not so sporadic like Melbourne's, you will be able to say, right, 2, 3, 4, 5. You can have 4 degrees apart for your key. Or if you have really weird weather, you could have 2 degrees apart for your key. But the more degrees apart you have, you need to use more colours. The less degrees, you need to use less colours. All right, now let's talk quickly about our temperature here in Melbourne. Where it says -1 degrees, which is 30.2 Fahrenheit overseas, where it says 1 degrees, 2 and 4, I used the same colour for those 3 temperatures, Fahrenheit, if it helps you, right? Because it's not likely that Melbourne gets those temperatures, okay? And even 5 to 7 we don't get a lot of as well. But I left that to be slate, which is like a dark grey, okay? But I used the same black for those 3 temperatures. I did the same for the 2 top temperatures, which is your 38 to 40 degree heats and your 41 plus, or, pretty high temperatures. Aside from being really hot, we don't have a lot of those days throughout the year. We have some, but not a lot. So if I didn't put 2, we would have no red on the blanket, maybe, or only 1 red on the blanket. And I wanted to have a little bit more red because I like red, yeah? So it's up to you what you want to do. Now, I did mess around with the colour combination here, and someone did say to me, that looks a bit odd, but that's the way I like it, okay? This bubblegum's a little bit dark. It's not the real bubblegum pink. It's more of a lighter pink than that. So you've got your light pink and then your medium pink. So 4 of these colours are not their original colour. Like that one's not the original lavender. That's not an original. That's not an original. What's the other one that's not an original? Oh no, that's it. There's about 4 colours that aren't original colours, and they are coming in because I've ordered them through Bendigo literally only a couple of days ago. For pickup at some stage if I can get out there. Otherwise, you can use another code. Now here I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 colours. And here I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 colours. The more degrees you have in between your key, you'll be using less colours. When you have the least amount of degrees, like this is only 3 degrees difference, this is 4 degrees difference. So if you have 3 degrees or 2 degrees, you're going to need more colours, all right? So I've only done 2 here for you, so you can have a look at the colour combinations that I have. And if you are from Australia and you want to use Bendigo yarn, these are the names of the colours I'm using, and their colour combination is right next to it there. All right, if you are from overseas, you will know just the colours, looking at them from here, that that's a dark blue and that's a bone or a light cream. It's like a stony colour. That's your cream or a white. You've got your lilac or a light purple, and you can actually see the colours there. Obviously, the colder the temperature is, it's black. The warmer the temperature is, it's either red or a maroon, okay? Entirely up to you what colours you want to use, but if you want to use these colours, take a quick screenshot of the first one, which is this one right here now, okay, for your country. And there you go. And then let's take a quick screenshot of this one here, and you can decide whether you want to use more colours or less colours, all right? Or you can use your very own key that you like, all right? I'm using this one here, colour key 1. That one there was colour key 2, all right? I'm using colour key 1, which is that one right there, okay? Not necessary for you to use that one, but that's the one I'm using, all right? So that's the key, all right? And the next thing you need to have is your crochet hook. Now ours called for a 4mm hook, and I'm going to be using the 4mm hook. So choose the hook size that suits your yarn. You will need scissors. Did I spell scissors wrong? I certainly did. Hello, let's change that. Don't you love it? Don't you love it? You will need your scissors. You will need a sewing needle or a darning needle, and you will need a tub or some sort of bag, because this is a year-long project. Now this means a lot of your gear is going to be used every day or every second day or once a week or once a fortnight, whatever. You don't want to lose anything. So my suggestion is to actually use a tub, and I will show you that in a moment, okay? But for now, this is the way it's going to work. All right, let me just grab the calendar real quickly. And you can see some colours already there, and I'm going to show you those colours, all right? The 10th, I'm sorry about the lighting here, guys, sorry about that. The 10th of December, the 11th and the 12th. You're wondering how I got these temperatures. What I did was, and this is something that you can do in your country, and again, you don't have to do that. You can start from today's temperature, but it means that your blanket will be a few weeks later than ours, all right? But if you didn't start from today's and you wanted to start from the 10th of December 2021, just type up in Google past temperatures for 2021, your weather temperature in your country, okay? Whatever country you're at or whatever state you're living in Australia, right? So type into Google past weather for 2021, December 2021. You click on the website, it will show you some past temperatures. Now, I have to admit, the website I went on did give me one temperature, then I went on another one, gave me a second temperature. So really, to be honest with you, don't stress too much if it's 1 or 2 degrees differently, or 1 or 2 Fahrenheit. I don't know how it works in Fahrenheit, differently to what you remember. Because I remember our New Year's Eve being 40 degrees, apart from being very, very hot. It meant having to use a different colour if you've got different colours. For me, the 38 and 40 degrees, I think they're both red anyway. Let's have a quick look. Yes, they are. They're both the same colour. So it kind of worked all right. But it just meant where I was at that time, it was 40 degrees, which I was in the east of Melbourne at that time. But this may have been taken in the west, okay? So there's different parts of your state that the temperatures will be different. If they're a few degrees off, or a little bit off on your Fahrenheit than what you remember, don't stress. This is a past temperature as long as it's close to the temperature that you remember, all right? So I went ahead and did that for that day, for that month, wake up Mary, and for the first few days of January. So let's go back to the month, right? So the 10th of December was 18 degrees. Right, let's go like this. The 10th and the 11th, you had 18 and 22. Grab your little key, go to your 18 and 22, and 18 or your Fahrenheit, which is 62 point something. It might be 63 for something. It says to use lavender. So I used lavender for the first one, right? The next one was 22 degrees, which was there, and it says to use baby blue, and you follow your Fahrenheit. So you grab the baby blue, which we are making today. Oh, by the way, we are creating a square today, guys. And the next one was bubblegum. Now, I didn't have bubblegum in stock. It was 29 degrees. So go to 29 degrees, it's bubblegum. I just had this colour here, and I use that for now. When I get Bendigo's order in with the bubblegum, I'll redo that square. And in fact, this is not the lavender either. This is a Clequeton colour. So these two squares will have to be redone. But for the purpose of today, I did them, okay? So this is what you have: your lavender, your baby blue, and your bubblegum. All right, this is just for the purpose of today's chat that we're doing here. All right, so that's what you'll be doing every day, following your key on your calendar. All right, so that's what I have: the lavender, the blue, and that pink right there, or whatever it was, bubblegum. Yep. So what I will do once I reach my 14 squares, we will come back together and start our join as you go. All right, just for this row only, which is that brown you'll see there. But this, when we come back, the join as you go will start from here and it'll go around there, right? It won't actually complete all the sides. We'll work that out later, so don't stress. That's a whole new tutorial in itself. Today, all we're doing is this one square. Now that's that. Let's grab our little sheet again and let's keep going. All right, so you will be doing those colors every day on your calendar, right? The granny square we're doing today is the blue one. All right, we are doing 2 rows of a basic granny square. The only difficult part of this square, let me get a close up for you, is that we did the magic circle, magic ring, or the magic loop, okay? If you do not want to do the magic loop, you by all means can chain 3 and slip stitch into your first chain that you created. But I think for this blanket, I think it's better to have a nice tight close stitch, but again, entirely up to you. So we're going to do 2 rows of our square today. All right, so the idea is to do 2 rows of that color every day. 2 rows of your lavender, 2 rows of your baby blue, and 2 rows of your bubble gum. All right, for these 3 days. All right, so after 14 days, we will do the join. We will join your squares, which I talked about up there, which we're going to do in a couple of weeks' time. After 28 days, we will do the join as you go again for the next 14 squares. Once we do that join, if you wanted to go ahead and do your blanket on your own, you can. But I will be revisiting the tutorial every month. So every month after that, we will join the next 28 days. All right. Might sound a little confusing, but don't stress. It's just going to be, each day is going to be each day, if that makes any sense. Okay. Wash and block your squares. Now, this is optional. People say, I've been crocheting for 50 years and I've never done it. You don't have to do it. All right. This is what I'll be doing. I'll be washing and blocking my squares before I do the join as you go row. Okay. Just a heads up there, you don't need to, all right? At the end of the year, we will add a border times 2 plus 1 day. Now, don't stress with that. It sounds confusing, but it's not. At the end of the year, we will add our border row. Now, our border row will be, you'll have a couple of rows before the border, right? It says 2 because it says that just means we're doing a basic border. And we will also be doing a more difficult border for those of you whom are a little bit more of an avid crocheter. But again, newbies, if you want to try it, try it. The plus 1 day just means that extra day that we didn't do over here, right in the very beginning where it says 365 days. We will do that extra day, that colour as a border around our first row of the brown. Don't stress, we'll talk about that at the end of the year. If you don't want to do it, skip the day. It doesn't matter. It's just 1 day. But I would suggest doing it. I think it'll be fun and it'll be something different and it will give your blanket a bit of a highlight. We'll see at the end of the year how it looks. If we don't like it, we'll omit it. All right. But in the meantime, guess what, guys? That was the quick rundown. Again, it was a quick rundown. So just quickly, let me go back to the calendar for today. Today, all I want you to do is create a square with me, right? When we get to the next step, I'll talk to you about the rest. But all I want you to do is create the baby blue square or whatever square you want to do. I'm using the blue today, but if you want to do the lavender or if you want to do the bubblegum or whatever colour key you are using, yeah? Do the temperature of your day, check the colour key, and that's what we're creating today. Now, you must always keep a colour key with your calendar. That's the way mine will stay, all right? Now, I chose this calendar because, well, it was a freebie from our chemist, firstly. And secondly, once I saw that images of the world, I opened the book and I saw January and thought, oh my gosh, there it is, the Colosseum, Italy. It kind of reminded me of my heritage, my background. And then because we were talking about doing a possible temperature blanket, it just sort of clicked over and said, yep, we're doing one. All right, so that's the only reason why I'm using this one. Now, keep your color key with your calendar, okay, in your tub or in your bag, and I'll explain that to you after we finish creating our square. All right, but in the meantime, I want you to do one square with me right now. All right, and let's do our square. We're going to start quickly. I've already created the lavender and the bubblegum. Now, these aren't the original colours, so I've kind of just played with it, and we're going to take it undone when the original colours come in. But I've done that one there, and whoops, get in there, and that one there. But I haven't done the baby blue. All right, so right now, this very second, we're going to create the baby blue. First, what we're going to do is do this square right here. Get yourself your hook that you're using for your yarn, and I'm using a 4mm hook, and that is an 8-ply yarn. I'm sorry, that is for the 8-ply yarn, Bendigo Woolen Mills 100% pure wool. Now you can use acrylic and cotton and whatever else you wanted to use. Like I mentioned in the promo, doesn't have to be what we're using, okay? I just wanted to let you know what we're using today. And I've got some stitch markers and scissors and sewing needle and everything else, but let's just not worry about that for now. So grab your little tail, just wrap it around your finger. Oops, just wrap it around your finger like so. Yes. Pop your hook. Oh, let's get it close up so you can see. Pop your hook under there and pull up a loop like so. All right. And you're holding everything. Don't let everything go. All right, you're holding it all there. Keep holding it, just changing hands, but keep holding it. Now you're going to chain 3, and a chain is yarn over your hook, pull a loop through to the loop on your hook once, yarn over twice, yarn over 3 times. Now just keep going, don't let go. You're going to do a double crochet in the same center. Pop your hook in the loop, pull a loop through, 3 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through 2 loops, yarn over, pull through the last 2 loops. Now from here, you can actually give that tail a tiny bit of a tug, not too much because we are going to fit in some clusters in there. But before we do, just grab a stitch marker. If you are new to crochet, I would suggest doing this. This is the stitch that we just did right there. You've got your 2 loops there. Right next to it is another stitch with 2 loops on the top and 1 loop on the bottom. I don't know if you can see, that's really hard. Right there. Two loops on the top, 1 loop on the bottom, and you are popping your stitch marker right next to it. Not the one that you are in, right next to it. All right, this is for newbies. Regulars, you know, current people who know what they're doing can just keep going. Yarn over your hook, you're going to do another double crochet in that center, and we're going to keep crocheting over our work. All right, into the center, pull a loop through, 3 loops, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through the last 2. And now what you have is 2 double crochets and these chains. The chains here will act as a double crochet. So you're chaining 1 and 2 to create a corner. And now we're going to put 3 double crochets in that center. In you go, pull a loop through, 3 loops, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through the last 2. It's a lot easier now, isn't it, to hold everything. And in there again for the second one. And for your third one. All right, now you're going to do yet again another corner. So chain 2, 1 and 2, 3 into the center, 3 double crochets into the center. All right, this is what we call a basic granny square. It's not completely basic because we are using the magic circle, magic loop, or whatever you want to call it, magic ring. It's called a lot of things online, so it's hard to keep up. Chain 2, 1 and 2, and do yet again another 3 double crochets. And this is your last set of 3 double crochets. And 3, but you still have that corner to complete, 1 and 2. Now just wait there a moment. What you've got is 1, 2, 3, 4 sets of double crochets, 1, 2, 3, and the start of your 4th corner. Before you do anything, you're going to grab that little tail end, and this is where the magic happens. Just give it a tug and presto, the little center is gone. All right, and now you pop your hook back into your loop. Just grab that tail and put it back there. We will be weaving that in as well, guys. Don't assume that just pulling it shut means it's done. No, you need to weave that in as well. This will come undone because it's not knotted. All right, so stick your hook into your stitch with your stitch marker in. All right, no yarn over, just pop your hook in that stitch. Hopefully it's not as tight as mine. You can take your stitch marker out if you like for now. And you are going to grab your thread, pulling it through that loop, the stitch that you're in, and through to the loop on your hook. And you have now closed up your square. All right, you're right there at the moment. All right, we need to do one more round, okay? And from here, you can see nice and close up that you are actually in that chain. Now you want to get across into that corner right there. So the stitch right next to it, pop your hook in, pull the loop through, and pull it through to the loop that you are in. You've just slip stitched one. You're going to do the same into the next. Pull a loop through and through to the loop you are in. One more directly into that space now. In the space, pull a loop through and pull it through to the loop you are in. You are now officially in the corner where you can actually start your corner. So chain 1, 2, and 3. Here's where you can actually grab your stitch marker and pop it in. We couldn't do it before because it's a little bit fiddly. We had to do one stitch before we did it, but pop your stitch marker in those 2 loops. It's really tight there, I can see it. Don't make your chains too tight, guys. Heads up there. Now we're going to do 2 double crochets in the center. Well, in the corner, sorry. 2 into the corner, 1, and 2. Chain 2, because we are creating a corner. 3 double crochets in the same corner. 1, 2, and 3. So what you have there is your chain 3, which will act as a double crochet. So you've got 1, 2, 3, chain 2, 1, 2, 3. So 3, 2, 3. That's how I remember corners, 3, 2, 3. So guess what? You're going to skip over these double crochets, hop into your corner and do a 3, 2, 3. 3 double crochets, 1, 2, and 3. 1 and 2, 3 double crochets. All right, so it's a chain 2 and then 3 double crochets. My yarn is pulling. Give me 1 second, guys. All right, there we go. All right, now you're going to skip those 3, jump into your next corner with a 3, 2, 3. 3 double crochets. Sorry, I hope I'm not going too fast for you guys. Sorry. 1 and 2 and 3 double crochets. When I get excited, I can't help myself and I just go fast. Especially when I'm off air, I go really fast and then I come back and I just assume everybody's going fast. All right. So we are now skipping over those 3 and jumping into that corner with a 3, 2, 3. It's what we call a basic granny stitch or granny square. 1 and 2 and 3 double crochets. All right, super duper easy. Okay, so what you have now is that your your square is almost complete. We have to slip stitch right into the top of that stitch there to complete this square. All right, so let's Just give it a tug. Oops, there goes my stitch marker. I pulled it too tight. Don't pull it so tight. And I wanted to give it a tug to get into that stitch. Slip stitch into the stitch with your stitch marker in it, guys. That's not a very good stitch marker, is it? Pull the loop through and pull it through to the loop. On your hook, chain one, or actually pulling a loop through. Lift your tail up, grab your scissors, weird way of cutting, but I did it anyway, and just give your tail a tug. Your square is now complete. Alrighty guys, here we are in the craft room. Right now we're going to talk about storage and how we store our yarn and our temperature blanket gear and all the things we need needs to stay in a big tub. Now these yarns are far too big for this tub. So I may have to, wind some up and make them a little bit smaller. Maybe I'll wind them up in 100 gram skein because these are 200 gram skeins. And I might wind them up in 100 gram skein, but entirely up to you what you would like to do. Now, make sure that you have your information that you've written down, if you've written anything down like I have, and your calendar and your key all together in one spot in your tub, so you don't lose the key. At least you need to make sure you have the key. Probably good to have a copy somewhere just in case. And don't stress too much because the first few months you'll actually see most of the key anyway, maybe depending on your country. Yep. The other thing you need to do is once you make your first 14 squares, store them in a plastic bag. Okay, the other thing I wanted to tell you is a bit of a tip within the tutorial there. If you find that you know your temperature in your country, as I do here in Melbourne, make a few of these squares along the way with the colour of the temperature you usually use, if that makes any sense. So you're going to use 5 of these squares within January or February, whatever the month is that you're going to use most of these colours, yeah? So do a couple of colours, in front of the TV while you're just, watching a movie. It's very quick and easy. Once you do 1 or 2 squares, the rest is easy. This is easier than our swatch blanket of 2021, which you saw earlier. All right, so you won't have any trouble. Keep everything, your yarn, yes, your hook, your scissors, your sewing needle, and I forgot to mention throughout the tutorial, your stitch markers. You will need a few stitch markers for this tutorial. You will need your first stitch marker, obviously, to start your square off and end your square. You take a stitch marker out and you're done. When we start doing the join as you go, you will need at least 3 to 5, maybe 7 stitch markers. You probably won't if you know what you're doing, but I'm going to pop them in anyways because some of our subscribers are actually new, so welcome, by the way. So I'm going to pop them in as well, so you don't get lost and you know exactly what's going down. Guys, that's pretty much it. Now your job from here is to, let's grab our work out again, is to grab your calendar. All right, grab your calendar. Start finding the temperatures for December, from the 10th of December all the way into the 31st of December and way into the 6th of January. Now, I didn't notice this, but funnily enough, that works out to be 28 days, okay? And I didn't plan it, it just happened, right? Now, if you don't want to do that and you want to start your blanket from today, which is the 9th, if you start it from today, just note that our blanket, because we're starting from the 10th of December, yeah, our blanket will finish around here sometime at the end of the year. Yours won't. Yours will go right into January of 2000 and whatever it is, 23. Whoops, I've covered it. Let's try it from here. Hello. It's not there. Yes, it is. There it is. Yours will go right into January around 9th or 10th or 15th. All right, so just remember that yours will go into 2023 if you start from today's date. It's not wrong, it just means that you're starting from a later date. But if you want to start with us, then all you need to do is go to Google, pop in past temperatures for your state, your country, your area, and start writing them in your calendar. Then grab your code key, and again mine is code key 1, and start putting in the names of the colours of your yarn. When you've done all of that, put all this away and start creating all your squares, all right? When you get to, it's a lot of mucking around, but it's only the start. After this, everything is easy, trust me. When you get to, I'm going to cover all this up because it'll just get too confusing for you. When you get to your 14th squares, oh, that's not going to work. I'm trying to make it easier for you. When you get to your 14 squares, like that, yeah, your 14th day or your 14th square, meet me back here, not this Friday coming, but next Friday, and we will do our join as you go for these 14 days. All right. Now remember, you can wash and block your, where are we? There, you can wash and block your squares if you like. No, not necessary if you don't want to, but meet me back here. And these, because they are so small, can be done in front of the TV or whatever later in the evening, and you know everyone's in bed asleep and you're nice and quiet. You can be, sit there crocheting your squares for the week. Then in a couple of weeks' time, after you've done the next 14 days, which we'll talk about in the next tutorial, then we will meet back and do the other join as you go. Okay, but in the meantime, let's worry about making our 14 squares for now, and we've already done our 3, or I have, which doesn't matter anyway because I'll have to start again. We've already done our 3. Meet me back here, not this Friday, but next Friday after you've done your 14 squares, and we will join our squares. Now, if you're doing your squares from today, you might need to wait another week before we do our join as you go, or you can start it after 3 or 4 squares if you like. All right, but in the meantime, thank you so much for watching, guys. I hope this was explained properly for you. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments section down below. Don't forget to join us on our lives at 4 p.m. Wednesday afternoons and 10 a.m. Saturday morning, Melbourne, Australia time. You get lots of information in those lives. We have a lot of fun, and sometimes we have too much fun and we're very silly, but it happens, yeah? And also don't forget to like, subscribe and share and do all the wonderful things that you guys, well, pretty much already do for me. And don't forget to do your 14 squares, and then meet me back here in a couple of weeks' time, and we will be joining our gorgeous squares with a join as you go. All right, thank you for watching, and all I want to say right now is good luck creating your temperature blanket of 2022. Ciao for now.